What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16 episode 7 review. I'm Charmaine. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. So y'all know how I do. I get right into it, honey. Britt and Mark are outside car shopping, child. Britt said that Mark or Mike, I keep forgetting that man's name, like mixing it up. I'm gonna get it right before the season's over, y'all. But Britt and her husband, they're out car shopping. Britt says that he told her, or he promised her every 2 years that she could get a new car. So I guess they're at the 2-year mark, child. So they're out there at the car dealer shopping for cars. Britt gets in the car. As always, she's doing the most, embarrassing her husband. She decides to lift her legs sky high in the air in like you know, one of those positions. And Mark does tell her, you are doing too much, as always. So then we go to Angie's house where Drew arrives. Drew arrives with her over $5,000 clutch bag. Okay, honey, it was real cute. It was in the shape of like a champagne glass or a martini glass with the little chain on it. It was real cute. But yeah, so she comes to Angie's house. You know, they have a little sit down in the back or whatever. Angie had to put her on notice immediately that she fact checked her, meaning Drew. Angie fact checked Drew's information regarding Michael Jordan when last episode when Drew made a little comment and a joke that Michael Jordan was her cousin. I guess because, you know, Angie's, you know, husband is a b-ball player as well, and he was playing back in the Michael Jordan days, you know, so she know a little something. So she decided to fact check it to see if Drew was telling the truth, if they were really related, child. And she told Drew, you guys are not cousins. Drew was like, well, I was just joking. And I thought we all knew Drew was joking. Like, but Angie took it serious, obviously. And she went ahead and called somebody up. I think she said Mark. Mark said that you're not cousins. I'm assuming Mark is somebody in Michael Jordan's family, child. I don't know if it's his son, his cousin, his brother, whoever. But Drew was like, I was just joking. So, you know, they chit-chat a little bit, and then Angie says that peace brunch, the food wasn't it. For the most part, the peace brunch that they had at Kelly's house, the food wasn't it. She said that, you know, those grits could have been cooked some more, child. So then we're at Kelly's house. The ladies who didn't attend the brunch, minus Shamia, because Shamia was there too, but it was Porsha, Shamia, and Cynthia came over to Kelly's house. You know, I guess just for a little 1-2 like they always do. And when Porsha came, she looked down at Kelly's dog and she was like, what is that? And Kelly was like, that's my dog, that's Cha-Cha. And then Kelly told us how one time Cha-Cha was stolen from them. So, you know, and they got her back via Craigslist. And so that's, I'm assuming, the reason why she, you know, dyed her dog and made her real nice and cute and colorful, or whatever the case, I guess. So, you know, God forbid if that were to happen again, they would immediately know, because she did just look like a regular old dog before she did all that to her. When the dog was stolen back, when she was stolen, she didn't have any of that on her. But so then they sit down and they talk a little bit. Like I said, it's Cynthia, Porsha, and Shamia. So basically Kelly kind of fills Cynthia in, you know, on what'll happen at the peace brunch and things like that. Then we're back to Mark, Mike, whatever, and Britt. So he asked Britt, you know, how you know, did things go with Angela or whatever, or like what happened with Angela. So she told him she basically feels like, you know, she thought Angela was one way, and now, you know, at the brunch she showed her a different person, and that Angela needs to pick a side, you know, things like that. Moving on, because also Britt is still lying about the reason behind why why she's being investigated, or her license from her people that she works for or with, or whoever the case. She's still putting it out there that, you know, she's being investigated because of all of the rumors that's been circling and what Kenya did, you know. So while I feel like a part of it could be true, I mean, like any job, you know, that's, you know, any important job, put it like that, you know, they're going to want people working for them that, you know, don't bring no drama and nothing like that to the workplace, or bring any negative attention to, you know, where they work. So I could believe some of it, you know, but I don't feel like I believe Angela more, because she's been in it longer. She knows pretty much the ins and outs, it seems. So I feel like Angela is, telling the truth when she's like, they're not just going to investigate you off just plain rumors. Like, come on. So Britt is still sticking to her story, honey, saying that basically the reason why her license is being, um, you know, suspended at this time or whatever the case is because of what all Kenya did. And so, yeah. So then we're back at Angie's house with Drew, and Drew tells Angie that, Britt texted her and wanted to meet up and, sit down, have some drinks with her or whatever. So, that was that. And then they talk about Ralph, being jealous of Dennis. And, well, Angie mentioned it to Drew, and so Drew basically, sort of elaborated on it. And she was like, Ralph and Dennis had a conversation. She claimed she had a conversation with Porsha, and in the end, they both still had a problem, meaning Ralph and Porsha. I'm sorry, I'm a little, this is just what this show gave y'all. I'm not excited, and I'm sorry. It's not that I'm bored or whatever, but this show just really, this is the energy that the show gave me, so that's the energy I'm on, Oh, so we're back at Kelly's house, and, they talk about, I guess, Porsha tells them that she's going to be going. It's no I guess, but Porsha did tell them that she wants to do a trip to Nashville for her birthday, minus Drew. She invited all the rest of the ladies there, and then it flashes back to when Porsha did the FaceTime call for all of the ladies. And then it also shows Angela specifically asking Porsha, did she invite Drew? Porsha told her no, and she was like, oh, well, is it okay if I invite her? Or something like that, Angie, said to Porsha. Porsha didn't say no, but, obviously she didn't invite Drew for a reason. So, yeah. And we all know the reason for that. But Porsha just basically was telling Cynthia at Kelly's house, how she's done with it. She's over it, And Cynthia was like, her personal opinion, Porsha is not done with it. Porsha cares a lot. I agree with Cynthia. Porsha absolutely does care a lot. Now, I want to say again, because I feel like I mentioned this in one of the past reviews, but I want to say again, to a certain extent, I do see where Porsha is coming from. Do I think she's dragging it out a little bit because there is feelings involved for Dennis still with her? Absolutely. Absolutely. As far as Drew, Porsha feeling like Drew went behind her back, she's contacting, people from Porsha's team to work with them as well. I can absolutely, if that's true, I could absolutely see Porsha feeling away. I'm not 100% team Drew, in this situation. I just feel like if it's strictly work between Drew and Dennis, then Porsha should let it just be that, just leave it, like, don't be mad at that, because at the end of the day, just like Drew did say, this is going to benefit you and Dennis's child later. Not saying that Dennis don't have it, but you can never have too much when it comes to taking care of responsibilities in at home. You can never have too much money to do that, so, or too many sources of income, so. But outside of that, I feel like if Porsha feels that Drew was being sneaky about things, and things are coming back to Porsha about different things that maybe we haven't heard about yet on the show, that Drew had been doing behind Porsha, behind the scenes or whatever the case, and Porsha knows about it, we just don't, then that's different. I could certainly see Porsha's view of that. But as far as if it's just simply that Drew is working with Dennis and they want to film together, I think Porsha should stop dragging it. Let it go, girl. Drew, or making it seem like, there's more going on between the two. And even if they're worried, Porsha, you claim, when you was with Simon, you was with somebody else. You wasn't thinking about Dennis. And of course, obviously, Drew is supposed to be somebody, a co-worker to her. So if that were something that they were going to have, if they were doing something on the side, which I highly, highly doubt. And like I said before, nobody's going to convince me that Dennis and Drew have something going on outside of work. It's just not going to happen. But again, if that's Porsha's feeling, if she's getting little bits and pieces coming back as to that, then absolutely I could see her point of it. But then we're back at Angie's house. Angie basically asked Drew, would she be on board to come into Porsha's birthday trip to Nashville, even though Porsha did not invite her. But Porsha didn't uninvite her. So, or did not invite her, I should say. Well, no, she didn't invite her. But Porsha, according to Angie, didn't say completely no. So she asked Drew, would she be down to come, but with her inviting her, so Drew was like, I don't know about that. You know, I feel more comfortable if Porsha herself invites me or whatever. But, you know, Angie just kind of kept trying to convince Drew a little bit. Like, you know, I don't think it'd be a big deal. You know, she didn't say you couldn't come. But I'm with Drew on this. If that lady ain't invite me, I am not popping up on her birthday trip. Okay, this is not the film. The show's trip. You know, how they do like a end of the season trip, all around trip. It's not one of those. You know, this is her personal trip for her personal birthday, and I feel like I wouldn't want to go without being invited. Like, I'm not gonna go off of your invite. It's not even your trip. But we are watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta, so this is how things go. Okay. So what happened next? Porsha said that she'd rather basically, you know, see Drew in Atlanta, child. She don't want to see Drew on her birthday trip. She'd rather keep it in Atlanta when it comes to that. So then we see Kelly teaching her eldest daughter how to drive. That was a real quick scene or whatever the case. Shami is back in the studio, you know. I like Shamia's voice. I think Shamia has a great singing voice. I think she would make a great artist. However, just not in this time. Not in this era. I'm not going to say it's because of her age, but it's partially because of that. Because when you look now and you see the new, you know, the new and upcoming, you know, singers or rappers, things like that, they're not in their 40s. Let's just be real. And I'm not age shaming, and I'm not saying because you're in your 40s that, you know, you're still not able to make it in the music industry. But she seems like she's been kind of like in and out of it for many years now, and then to actually lock in on it right now, I just don't think it's the right time for her. I don't think if it'll ever be a right time for her in this case, because again, she does not have, and it's unfortunate, but she doesn't have, you know, age on her side. She definitely has the sex appeal. She definitely has the talent. She has all of that, but she just doesn't have the age. She has the look, in my opinion, even though, you know, again, you know, her being a darker skinned woman, you know, you don't see too many of them out there right now unless they're much, much younger. And it's very, very few of them that we see on our TV screens in this industry right now. I'm talking about the nowadays, not the old back in the day, you know, people that we listen to and like the Mary J. Blige's and, you know, those type of, no. The new girls that's coming in now, they are in their 20s or younger, and you know, they don't look like Shamia. They just don't, you know. So I kind of feel like Shamia should, like, you know, take it back to it just being like a hobby, because I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I mean, as you see, Drew pushed out an album. You know, Drew, you know, she's not, you know, in her 40s yet that I know. I think Drew is still like in her mid to late 30s, but she still gives off very young. Like, all around, Drew still gives off that little young, cutesy, you know. She got the complexion. I hate to say that, y'all. I hate to say that, but it's the reality of things. It's messed up, but it's the reality of it. It's the reality of it. So I'm gonna just leave that topic alone, child. So then Angie says that she she was in the house with her kids or whatever, and she was telling us how she had a nose job, which we could clearly see that. But she said the nose was too pinched when she first got it, so, you know, she went ahead and got some Botox, and it blew her whole face up, had her looking crazy, child. Her baby told her, he said, you look like one of them Super Mario characters, child. I just started dying laughing, because I'm like, leave it to your kids, okay, to try to play them. So Cynthia tells Porsha that she didn't think her and Simon wouldn't make it. You know, she doubt if somebody would have told her 6 months from now that Porsha and Simon, you know, would be going through what they would be going through, she wouldn't have believed it. And I'm like, girl, why? Porsha talking about she's still in shock. I just don't understand. Like, I get that Cynthia, you know, is, you know, trying to be that good girlfriend to Porsha, but at the end of the day, y'all gotta start keeping it real. And I'm not saying to be mean about it and in a harsh way, but what do you mean you ain't see this? You didn't. Somebody would have told you 6 months ago that you would have never guessed that Porsha and Simon would be here. Y'all keep forgetting how they met? How the whole situation went down? Like, what is everybody missing, you know, in her little circle there? Like, I mean, come on. Like, is it anybody that's going to keep it 100 with Porsha and tell her, except for Kelly, because Kelly, but see, Kelly just meeting Porsha. I'm talking about people who've been in Porsha's life since she's been on this Housewives. Okay, like, y'all sitting here acting like Porsha And Simon met on some nice romantic, he was free and single, and, like, it just blows my mind or whatever. So, anyway, Drew finally meets Britt for drinks. And one thing I give Drew is that, again, sort of like Shamia, Drew gonna ask the necessary questions. Okay, she knew what she was coming there for, and she executed. Okay, so Britt is still, wanting support from the ladies or whatever. So she's super happy that Drew is, agreed to meet up with her or whatever. So Drew goes right in for the kill. She asked Britt whether or not she ever, sold cat. Britt looked a little confused by the question. She had to play it off at first. She had to, really figure out how she about to answer this without telling her the truth. And that's exactly what she did. She told Drew, no, she's never done that. So Drew then's like, well, have you ever done porn? And so Britt starts getting tripped up, acting like she's tripping over her words and stuff. So she tells Drew that she did do webcam with her female friends or whatever back in the day. She did webcam, but she did never do porn. So Drew's sitting there sipping on her drink, child. So and Britt had, once Britt said she was an open book, that's when Drew went in for the kill, child. I was like, she went straight in. I was like, yes, that's how you do it. We're not gonna beat around the bush. We're not gonna tiptoe around it. We're gonna get straight to it. Okay, I got questions that need answers, and I'm gonna ask them. Okay, Drew wasn't buying it. She wasn't buying it. Also, Drew asked her, did she ever make money off of, doing what she was doing back in the day? So Britt was like, I've done well. Okay, so if you done well, then that means you were selling sex. Okay. So anyway, Britt asked Drew, to put yourself in my shoes, and everybody's thinking I'm a whore and a fraud, and the receipts are there, Britt. So, okay. And Drew basically was like, well, I understand how you feel. I got all my personal business out there in these blogs, and it doesn't feel good. So, my heart goes out to you, blah, 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 or whatever. And at the end, Britt was just, again, super happy that she finally got somebody else in her corner besides Kelly. Not even in her corner, but finally got somebody else back on her good side or whatever. Britt also asked Drew if she feels that she can move forward with Porsha. And Drew was like, now me personally, I don't think that Drew has an issue moving forward with Porsha at all. I feel like Drew is just going, she's just moving off of Porsha's energy. If Porsha's, willing to literally let bygones be bygones and not be mad, then Drew is all for it. She not gonna, because Drew wasn't the one that had an issue in the first place. It's Porsha that has the issue or whatever. So I don't feel like, Drew has an issue moving forward with Porsha. She doesn't have an issue with Porsha at all. Porsha has the issue with Drew. Drew claims that she's been trying to resolve the issue. Porsha is just not with it. So, it is what it is on Drew's end. She's not going to beg the girl, like, come on. So now it's court day for Drew and Ralph. Basically, what Drew was looking for, what Drew was looking for on that day, is to keep the court documents sealed. Also to get Ralph out the house. And also to make him pay child support, like, I don't think she was asking for too much, So they get into court, and it doesn't go that way. Ralph has, apparently he has a new set of lawyers, or a third lawyer or something like that. And she's a woman. And like I said, the court didn't go in Drew's favor. It went all in Ralph's favor. And Ralph moved to have the documents unsealed because he's claiming he wants transparency, even though Drew said it would make him look even worse than he already does if the documents were unsealed, because most of what's in there is all the ish that he had done, and that she would hope that he would want to he would want to keep that sealed. The reason why Drew does not want the documents unsealed is because she does not want later on down the line, or even now, especially with her oldest, them to be able to just get online and see everything, see everything that was in those documents at least. So, like I say, he said he wanted them unsealed because he wanted it to be transparent. he was just, I feel like Ralph just wanted it unsealed. He didn't have nothing to do with him wanting it to be transparent. It had everything to do is because Drew did not want it that way. Everything Drew wants, he wants the opposite. And I feel like that is his way of still making life hard for her throughout this divorce. They didn't, he still haven't provided his documents so that they could establish child support for the kids. He still haven't provided with all the necessary documents, at least so that they can do that. So they didn't get that on a court date. And also he gets to still live in the house downstairs in the basement. He claims this is the home that he purchased. I don't know, how true that is. But at the end of the day, I just feel like as a man, and if you really wanted to be divorced from this woman, you really wanted to be, disconnected, you didn't want to have any ties outside of the kids to this marriage anymore, you as a man would do everything that you should do or supposed to do, what the courts are asking you to do to make that happen. If you really wanted this to be over in a nice way. You're not trying to fight. You're not trying to, be difficult. You're not trying to just basically hold her and make her stuck in a way. Ralph is giving every single part of that. Like I keep saying, and like Drew has told him, he is a narcissist. He's doing this on purpose because he knows that it's going to stick Drew. He knows that he's going to be able to throw it in her face that, look, I got the upper hand here. Like, the judge is in my favor. The ball is in my court. You're not getting nothing you want so far. And, Drew got a little emotional about it. She did yell at him out the car window when they was leaving court. She was like, you're stupid, or something like that. She called him a name or whatever, and then she started crying and stuff in the car. I mean, I feel it. I feel her because, again, why are you making it so difficult? Like, why can't we just go our separate ways and you do what you gotta do? Like, what do you mean you want to still live in a house? Leave the house. Go get somewhere else to live. Why do you want to live in a house where you are downstairs in the basement and she's upstairs the kid? And I feel like a part of that too is because he don't want Drew to move on. He don't want Drew to move on. He feels like if he leaves that house, then Drew she can have anybody she wants in that house, a new man wise. And I think that's a huge part of why he's fighting to stay in that house. He did tell him in the beginning that he didn't have money to pay for that house in, the house in another place to live. So, okay, stop paying for the house. If Drew wants the house, leave all the bills for Drew to pay. That's it. You worry about your kids. That's it. Why are you trying to stay in the house? And again, he's just doing that because he wants to stick Drew. He's trying to stump her life. And I feel like he don't want nobody else up in that house. Even though he claims he's the one who paid for it. I guess it's just a male ego thing. I don't want no other man up in here where I pay the bills or this is my house. But at the end of the day, you're in the middle of a divorce, sweetie. Okay? Everybody wants to move on. And it's not fair that you moved on before the divorce even happened. You moved on, meaning you stepped outside of the marriage. You were seeing other people. You were doing all the things as a single man, even though you were married. So why, now that why not make it official so you can officially be single and divorced, and she can too, and then she can move on with who she wants to move on with. Why you being a hater, Ralph? Typical man. But anyway, because that just really pissed me off. I can't stand men like that. Like, you grown. Like, come on. If you don't really want to be there, then don't be there. Do everything right so y'all can move this shit along. The ladies start to head to Nashville. You see Britt and Kelly in the back, child, Ubering up they freaking breasts. Listen to me, Ubering up. Oiling. You see Kelly and Britt in the back oiling up their breasts in an Uber, child. Like, I'm just like, where y'all is going to the airport? What is all of this for? Like, doing too much. But they both in the back like this with their big blow up Barbie tiggle bitties or whatever. So the ladies arrived to Nashville. They arrived to the house. The house is absolutely gorgeous that they are going to be staying in for the time that they're there. They go on to pick out rooms. Porsha shows them her bedroom, which was really nice. Then she shows the downstairs portion, which is basically another house in itself. Whatchamacallit, Shamia ran up in that piece and she left her mark on the bed as if to say, she said, this is my room. And she said she's the best friend, so she should get that room. And I agree. I agree. So then they go on, like I said, to continue to pick out rooms. So I believe that Cynthia, Kelly, and what's her name? Britt. They're all on the same level together upstairs. And she said Porsha said she's gonna leave a certain suite to Angie when she comes, because, oh, by the way, y'all, Angela missed her flight, child. She was late. And she didn't get on the plane with the rest of the ladies. Angela walks in. She joins the you know, their ladies are all sitting down eating at the house, and Angela walks in. She could just feel the fake and phony. She could just feel that they was talking about her, which they were. She could just feel it when she walked in. So she's like, I know these ladies was talking about me when I came up in here. But she sits down, you know, and she tells the ladies that she invited Drew too. And so Porsha was like, everybody's like acting, or, you know, like everybody has something to say, put it like that. So she's like, she invited Drew to the trip or whatever. So Porsha wasn't feeling it. Like I said, all the ladies had something to say about it. But Britt had asked Angie, you know, was their encounter real? Because apparently they were in the malls a few days before that. Kelly and Britt was in the mall, and they was in one of the stores there, and they ran into Angela. Britt says Angela was looking crazy. She kind of had, her hair was all messed up, and that she kind of was like looking crazy and messy. So but Angela tell her, I'm not fake, you know. So yes, it was real. I guess when they saw her, you know, they might have hugged each other or whatever the case. And so Angie told her, I'm not fake, you know. I'm not fake. If I like you, I like you, you know. So Kelly brought her security, child. Kelly always got her security one, child. And then ladies go into their rooms, and they all calling their husbands. Not one of their husbands were interested in anything that they had to say on that FaceTime, child. Not one of their husbands cared that they were not there and home with them, okay? But Kelly also brought her glam squad, you know, because she traveled with her stylist. She travels with her makeup squad and her glam squad. And she was nice enough to loan her glam squad to Brad, because she said she felt Brad bad. Why can't I talk? It's because my mouth is dry. Hold up. Okay. So she says she felt bad for Britt because with all what Britt was going through, and that Britt doesn't have a glam squad, you know, at least not to travel with, I'm assuming. So she loaned her glam squad to Britt. So, you know, you see them getting all dolled up or whatever. So the ladies finally head out. They go to this, you know, I guess it was like a bar lounge / thing where they could do the bull riding and stuff like that. So they all take turns on a bull. We see Porsha get up there first, child. She only lasted 7 seconds or something like that. And who went after Porsha? I think it was Britt that went after Porsha. But anyway, and then Shamia goes, Kelly goes, you know, Kelly took my, yeah, I ain't got 4 kids for a reason, child. And by the way, when they got to this location, they had met up with Manetta and all the other girlies that Porsha had invited that didn't come with them. They came on, you know, on their own on a different day. So they all met up or whatever at that time. So yeah, it looked like they was having a little fun time. Like I said, everybody took turns on the bowls or whatever. And, you know, then they finally sit down and have their dinner. And while they're having dinner, somebody asks, where is Drew? Oh, I forget who asked where was Drew. I think it was Manetta, actually. Manetta asked where Drew was at. And so then they flashed to Drew, child. Drew is at Dennis's hookah lounge back home in Atlanta. She's at Dennis's hookah lounge with her sis, and they're in there having hookah and celebrating, you know, her being asked to sell, getting an offer for a record deal or whatever. So Drew was out there celebrating that, child. She wasn't thinking about Porsha in that trip. And I think that at one point Angela had called her to ask her, is she on her way or is she coming, something like that. And Drew was like, no, I'm not here yet. I'm not there yet, or whatever the case. And like I said, then we see where Drew actually was at and what she was actually doing. Angie said that she thought that the trip would be, you know, a perfect opportunity, because Porsha was telling the girls at the table, like, you know, how Angela invited her, you know, she didn't invite her. Angela invited her on her birthday trip. So, you know, you had some, you know, little whispers in the background of that. But Angela was just like, well, I thought it would be a good time for everybody to hash out their differences. Everybody meaning Porsha and Drew. And so Porsha was like, absolutely not. On my birthday trip, this is my birthday trip. Absolutely not. So the rest of the peanut gallery in the back was, you know, siding with Porsha, saying, you know, Porsha starts kind of like arguing with Angela. Angela said Porsha didn't tell her no, you know, to not know, like an official no. But come on, Angie, you know you know, if the girl didn't invite Drew, you should have left it alone. Like me personally, I would never do that. Somebody, unless I have a conversation with Porsha first. Maybe on the back end, I'll call Porsha up on the side and be like, hey girl, you really don't want Drew to come because I really think she should come. You know, let's just bring her on. You know, I would have did one of those, but I wouldn't have taken it upon myself to just invite somebody to somebody else's birthday trip who they purposely did not invite. I wouldn't do that. But again, we are watching the Real Housewives channel, so this is what they do. Basically, Porsha, when she was on FaceTime, Porsha didn't tell her no when she mentioned bringing Drew, but now Porsha is switching it up and she's acting all, you know, different now. She's acting out because she got a little audience with her. So then the one girl at the table who's acting clueless, she's one of the friends that Porsha invited. And she's like, wait, but what happened? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Basically asking Porsha what happened. What's the reason her and Drew, you know, are not feeling each other at this time. So Porsha pretty much briefs her, and then about what all happened. And then somebody at the table yells out, yeah, she was sucking dick. I'm like, and again, this is one of the girls that Porsha invited. She yells out Drew was sucking dick. And so everybody's shocked, you know, everybody looking around like, what? You know, like, where did that come from? So that's kind of pretty much how the show ended on that note. You know, I feel like it's one thing if you don't like somebody because your homegirl don't like them, your homegirl got beef with them or whatever the case. And I don't feel like using the word got beef and y'all in y'all 40s is crazy to me. Even though they didn't use it, I'm using it, but that's what it is, okay? I just feel like just because, you know, you don't even know Drew. So, I'm speaking to the girl who blurted that out. You don't even know Drew. I'm assuming she doesn't know Drew like that because Drew don't have many friends in Atlanta outside of the housewife girls. So I'm just like, why do you feel the need to just say some dumb ish like that? Like, just to get the little, throw that little razzle dazzle and get the oohs and the ahs and get the people talking. I guess you want rumors to now start swirling about Drew, and now everybody gonna be searching to see who, you know, if Drew and Dennis is really like, come on, like, you know. And Shamia and Monyetta, them too, they both, you know, still acting as if Drew is doing Porsha so dirty, like, by working with Dennis. Like, I mean, I know that's your homegirl. I know that's your friend in Shamia's case. That's your best friend. And Monyetta, that's your friend or homegirl, whatever you know, status her and Porsha has. But at the end of the day, like, how are y'all mad at Drew, but not mad at Porsha for marrying Simon? Like, I don't want no friends like that around me. I'm sorry. Even if it's my best friend, I do not want, and I don't have any friends that, you know, would be okay with me just doing any effing thing. Like, I don't want friends like that, because I'm not that friend. I'm not that friend. I'm also not the type of friend that's gonna call you out on every little thing, you know. But situations like that, if I had a friend that started messing with this lady's husband and then you call yourself mad, I'm not gonna be okay with that. I might not even be your friend anymore, because I feel like if you can do this to this person, you can do it to me, even though I'm your friend. I don't trust that. I just don't trust that. And yes, something like that, me personally, I will 100% end the friendship over. Absolutely, because you just don't do that. And I can't stand by somebody who could do that to somebody else, especially knowing that I have a husband, especially knowing that, you know, this is the mentality you have and these are the things that you're capable of doing. Like, I just can't trust you. That's just me. But hey, you know, everybody is all her friend and all up her behind until Porsha does it to them. So yeah, anyway, y'all, like I said, that was it for the episode. You know, the party continues on the next episode. So as always, I will be back with my commentary and my side of things and how I see things and my review regarding the show. And again, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.